Hello and welcome everyone. It is time to enter the Kumite. Remember, this is not a sport. You don't play fight. What's up, fight fans? So, Enter the Kumite was invited out yet again to cover PFL 2 in Arlington, Texas esports arena. Let's take a look between the punches. First up, we came out with the featherweights, Alejandro Flores versus Saba Balaji. Flores started off with feints and landing a couple of really strong low kicks early. He was keeping his jab in Balaji's face, but Balaji worked his way inside and got some cage control. Flores looked great with his defensive grappling. Balaji could not maintain control on top or threaten anything meaningful, really. Flores kept the fight where he wanted it. Him playing range with that jab, lead hook, and calf kicks. He snuck in some high kicks and knees to the body. Overall, a great showing from Flores. He's very long and has good timing, and he's always working in there. He never stops working. That was one of the things that really stood out to me. I had him winning all 3 rounds, countering and outworking Balaji. That win earns Alejandro Flores 3 points in the standings of the featherweight division. Next up, we had Shaymin Marias coming in against Boston Salmon. Boston Salmon came out swinging for the fences. Marias reversed position and gained some back control, making Salmon defend the takedown. Marias showed to be the stronger fighter from neutral clinch, getting some control time and even got a really nice Hizaguruma. Salmon listens very well to his corner. He managed to get himself out of really bad positions by listening to what his coaches were saying, and he executed it perfectly, honestly. Marias really started putting in work to the body in the second. Knees from the clinch, simultaneous hooks to the body, and even slamming the kicks into the body. Salmon stunned Marias a good few times in the third round, while Marias had the nasty work to the body. I scored the fight 30-27 in favor of Marias. The first and the third could be arguable for Salmon, but I really think the damage to the body and the edge on grappling was enough for Marias to get the win and earn himself 3 points in the standings of the featherweight division. Next up, we had the first heavyweight showcase bout, Klitzen Abreu versus Adam Koresh. Adam Koresh is a really interesting character, a lot of high-level feints. He has a very quirky style, to say the least. He looked at one point like he was feinting a couple of elbows. I'm sure he knows that elbows are against the rules of PFL, but it was funny nonetheless. I really can't stress enough how big of a downfall that is for PFL to not allow for elbows. That is a tool that is part of MMA. It is integrated into mixed martial arts. I really hope they're willing to change that. Imagine how many people aren't willing to join because they literally changed the rules of MMA. An elbow to the head is no more dangerous than a kick to the head. It's ridiculous. But we're going to carry on for now. With Koresh's style, he really can leave himself open for the body lock with these spinning attacks and bringing his leg up too high for the check. Abreu dropped his way underneath, a spinning back fist, and got a really low double leg. He even worked his way into the crucifix position and pretty much stole that first round. Koresh works from a very long and narrow stance. He really has that karate style, feinting the spinning back fist or kick, the side kicks to the body, and he even utilizes the back fist. However, he leaves himself open to the leg kicks behind the knee. Koresh has some fancy moves, but they ultimately didn't do him much good. Once Abreu got control, he wasn't letting it go, and there wasn't much Koresh could really do. Abreu landed a bit of ground and pound, but nothing too threatening. Abreu earned himself 3 points in the standings of the heavyweight division with a strong, unanimous decision. Next up, we have Bubba Jenkins coming up against Kyle Bochniak. Bubba Jenkins was looking really smooth on the feet that night, really finding ways to punish Bochniak's counter-heavy style. At one point, Jenkins landed a beautiful jab that dropped Bochniak, and instead of following up on the ground, he found time to get in a little taunt in there and by pointing at the ground. Very strong first round for Jenkins. Bubba was catching him clean with these short little hooks, and it was rocking Bochniak off. Jenkins was doing a great job at not telegraphing his strikes and slipping his head just off the center line. He looked to be the faster fighter on the feet out there as well. Bubba Jenkins also landed a beautiful suplex on Bochniak. It just goes to show you that you cannot let this man get your back at all because his wrestling is next level. At some point in the third round, Bubba Jenkins' eye pretty much swelled shut. He did manage to play out the rest of the round on the feet. A lot of improvements for Bubba Jenkins this time around. You can tell he's not resting on his laurels. He was honestly outstriking Bochniak throughout the fight, really beating him to the punch down the center. Those straight shots were landing first, and they were stunning Bochniak. Bubba Jenkins is a strong pick for the season, great wrestling, and an involving stand-up game. He earned himself 3 points in the standings of the featherweight division. Next up, we have Ante Delija coming up against Matthias Scheffel. Delija earns himself 5 points in the standings of the heavyweight division. He really never let Scheffel get comfortable in there. He caught Scheffel with his leg off the ground a couple of times and really timed his straights down the center well. He ultimately found the finish in the start of the second round with a counter straight after blocking that kick to the body. Ante Delija is looking extremely promising this year. And let's not forget that he is a protege of the infamous and legendary Mirko Cro Cop. Next up, we have Dennis Goldstoff coming up against Cody Goodell. Goldstoff cracked Goodell with a good one early on, and you could tell that Goodell did not like it. Goldstoff also landed a little judo toss against the cage and put his work in from there until the fight was stopped. This is a very dominant performance from Goldstoff, and he actually put himself at the top of the heavyweights thus far with that first round stoppage. I will say that I really didn't think Goodell was on the same caliber as some of the other PFL heavyweights, but it was a good way to start the year for Goldstoff. That's 6 points in the bank for Dennis Goldstoff. Next up, we have Hinon Ferreira coming up against Jamel Jones. Hinon Ferreira with one of the craziest knockouts I've seen to date. He followed up a missed kick with another kick, and the shin landed right on the chin of Jones, and he followed up with some strong and intense ground and pound. This fight only lasted a whopping 25 seconds, the fastest knockout in PFL's heavyweight history, which he actually broke his own record of 31 seconds that he set last season. And Hinon Ferreira puts himself right there with Dennis Goldstoff with 6 points. Ferreira is long, fast, and absolutely brutal. This is a scary fucking man, and on any given night, he can put anyone away. Next up, we have Brendan Lofnane coming up against Ryoji Kudo. Ryoji drops Brendan Lofnane in round 1. Lofnane was using his movement, but with his hands down, and Ryoji kept finding the opening for his counters just on the retreat of Lofnane. Kudo was quick to pick his shots. Unfortunately, in the third round, both fighters clashed heads, and Ryoji got busted up bad from it. So bad that they actually stopped the fight, and it went to a technical decision where they partially scored the third round there. I did feel like Ryoji kind of won the fight, but the second round was close enough to go either way, and Lofnane was definitely winning the third up until the headbutt, so I won't complain. It's unfortunate to see the fight end like that. Things like that are always so controversial, but Ryoji Kudo looked very impressive against who I think is one of the best guys in the division. He really found his openings, and I'm excited to see more. I did feel the momentum swinging into motion for Lofnane, and he was finding his range and Ryoji's habits. Lofnane is definitely built for 5 rounds, and I see him as one of the most promising contenders this season. There goes 3 points in the bank for Brendan Lofnane. Next up, we have Lance Palmer coming up against Chris Wade. Lance Palmer, the former champion. I think he won 2 years in PFL's tournaments. But Chris Wade did an excellent job at always keeping the output, and for the majority of the fight, he controlled the range. Palmer didn't have too much for Wade, other than a couple big left hands. He couldn't impose his wrestling. The takedown or two that he did get, Wade quickly recovered from. Wade was staying busy with his long kicks and his lead hook. You could tell that Wade's training with the Dagestani fighters has done him a lot of good with fighting wrestlers. Palmer really didn't feel the opening too often for the takedown attempts and had most of his success just waiting for the straight down the center. I think Chris Wade was just the more well-rounded fighter, and he definitely outworked Lance Palmer, earning himself 3 points in the standings of the featherweight division. Next up, and finally, we have Bruno Capoloza coming up against Stuart Austin. Bruno Capoloza looking as spectacular as always. He came out keeping the pressure on Stuart Austin. Austin looked to wrap up clinch and tried to use his judo in this one, but Capoloza was one step ahead. He was defending the takedowns that Austin was trying to get off the back foot quite easily and punished him hard for the failed attempts. Capoloza landed a big overhand that drops Austin. Capoloza followed up on the ground. He worked his way into mount with that underhook on the left side and finished things up from there with some brutal ground and pound. Capoloza showed us yet again that he is some of the most dangerous striking in the division, as well as a strong understanding of wrestling and grappling. So let's get to a quick point recap. For the featherweights, we have Alejandro Flores earning himself 3 points with a unanimous decision win over Saba Balaji. We have Shaymin Marias earning himself 3 points with a unanimous decision win over Boston Salmon. We have Bubba Jenkins earning himself 3 points with a unanimous decision win over Kyle Bochniak. We had Brendan Lofnane earning himself 3 points with a technical decision over Ryoji Kudo. Then we had Chris Wade earning himself 3 points with a unanimous decision win over Lance Palmer. There were actually no stoppages on PFL 2 for the featherweights. So that's very interesting to see. And the playoffs are up for grabs with no particular point standouts this season. For the heavyweights, we had Klidson Abreu earning himself 3 points with a unanimous decision win over Adam Koresh. We had Ante Delija earning himself 5 points with a second-round TKO over Matthias Scheffel. We had Dennis Goldstoff earning himself a quick 6 with a first-round TKO over Cody Goodell. We have Hinon Ferreira earning himself a quick 6 with a first-round knockout over Jamel Jones and breaking the record for the fastest knockout in PFL's heavyweight division history. And then finally, we had Capoloza earning himself a quick 6 with a TKO win over Stuart Austin. The heavyweights have set some high stakes for each other with earning all of the early stoppages in the first round of the tournament, with 5 out of the 6 ending by way of stoppage. Now, let's get into my favorable picks for the season. For the featherweights, I'm going to go with Chris Wade. I really do feel like he's the most well-rounded fighter in the division. He has phenomenal wrestling, and his striking grows every day. Bubba Jenkins is a pretty close second pick for me. If he can utilize his superior wrestling, then he may neutralize a lot of the competition. I just think that Chris Wade has the grappling at this point to hang with him and make him stand up, where I do feel he has the advantage. For the heavyweights, I'm going to go out on a limb. I guess it's out on a limb. But I'm going to say Bruno Capoloza wins the whole thing again. He's so fast and powerful, and he has that ground game to not be neutralized by anyone. Ante Delija is a pretty close second pick for me as well, and we may see them face off yet again in the finals. I just see Capoloza having the speed, power, and the ground game to give Delija problems. With that, I'll go ahead and wrap things up. If you like the content we're providing, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. If you disagree with our picks, make sure to berate us down in the comments below. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook, and you can even follow me personally on Twitter. Remember, this is not a sport. You don't play fight.